Let's take a deeper dive. How did this school team develop their data decision rules? How did they know to prioritize attendance? And how did they know to select 24 students for their math intervention? If you recall, this team has done some universal screening, they've developed some intervention matrices, and then they've developed data decision rules. So, what we're going to do now is peel back and determine actually how did they land on those data decision rules. So we're going to take a specific look at this data decision rule of prioritizing attendance over areas of academic risk and prioritizing behavior over areas of academic risk. So first, when this team was examining their universal data, including their historical data, they realized they had a problem with school-wide engagement, which was shown through their attendance data. The team made some efforts to implement school-wide strategies to address the attendance concerns, but also wanted to prioritize attendance as a school-wide issue to address through intervention. The team decided that attendance was an area of intervention they could more widely address since the strategies such as letters, phone calls home, making parent contact, and a staff mentor were not as resource heavy as an academic intervention. They were able to intervene with more students. The team also made the same commitment with students showing behavior concerns, as historically that team was able to intervene with behavior interventions with all the students showing need. So, then how did this team come up with 24 students as a number for math intervention? This team did some work with another tool that you have available to you, the Intervention Resource Planning tool. This tool helps students and grade levels determine the number of students they can realistically support in an intervention system. So what you see here is the elementary version of the Intervention Resource Planning tool. There are two sections to this tool. The top bar, the top section, are the standard resource planning, which gives you a set of numbers based on the students that you have at your school and the staff that you have at your school. And you may find this to be a helpful starting place when you're allocating staff for interventions or just starting out. The second section, the customized resource planning, allows you to tailor the number, the group size, the minutes of instruction to determine the number of staff you would need to support interventions at your school. So this team first looked at their grade size of 100, which can be found here, and their number of teachers, which is 4, which can be found here. And notice if they had 20% of their grade level requiring academic intervention, or 20 students, that with a group size of 5 and minutes per day of instruction at 30, that would require 4 groups at 2 hours per day and a third of a full-time position to fulfill. This team recognized that their needs would be greater than this when we think about students who are at risk. And so what they did next was took a look at their actual risk numbers compared to this to get a sense of what they were working with. So this team used the customized resource planning section to show that they had 62 students who were at risk in math, and that was the screening that they completed with the NC-INCs, and that's 62% of their grade level showing risk. They've chosen a math intervention called Do the Math that allows a group size of 6, so they changed that piece for 30 minutes of instruction a day. And what you can see here is to intervene with all the students showing risk, this would require 5.5 hours of daily instruction, or almost a full-time position, to provide intervention. This summary allowed the team to realize that since over half the grade was showing risk, that they must provide some of their intervention as a part of classroom instruction, which is another way of saying they determined the need to adjust core instruction or intensify core instruction. However, this team realized the need to still provide intervention to some students, so they used the resource planning tool again to calculate what level of intervention they could support with their current resources. So what you see here is their third attempt at using the intervention resource planning tool, and they determined that they have one interventionist who serves grades 3, 4, and 5. So fourth grade has about a third of that time, or a third of an FTE. And so with that allocation, they could have 4 math groups daily, serving 24 students. So 6 groups of 4 at 30 minutes per day would be that 2 hours of instruction, and that would be the equivalent of a third of a position providing that instruction. So the team further decided that the 24 students who received that math intervention would be students who were not receiving the attendance intervention, to ensure all students receiving math intervention were likely to be present for the instruction, and that the students would be the students who showed the most risk on the universal screening tool. So developing data decision rules or intervention entry rules is not easy. It's often going to require teams to make tough decisions and set priorities. Your NC MTSS team has a guidance document on data decision rules to help you with this process. And as always, your regional consultant is available for technical assistance as you work through setting data decision rules.